because of the assembly. So I want to hear from the most important fun facts about F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald. So who's got the good sauce? Who's got really good fun facts about F. Scott and Zelda? Because there are a couple that are wacky.
When Fitzgerald, when he signed the Great Gatsby, the company sent it back to him for revision.
Okay, that's a decent fun fact. That's a good starting point. Okay, Allie?
Scott was a second lieutenant with the Army and he was 21 when he met Zelda, but he was just at high school.
Okay. Okay, so he was in the Army. He misses World War I. Lindsay?
His second cousin 3 times removed was the guy who wrote the Star Spangled Banner.
Absolutely. So he's related to the Francis Scott Key of the Star Spangled Banner. Jennifer, what else?
In 1948, the hospital at which Zelda was a patient caught fire, causing her death.
There's a fun fact. Zelda, who had mental problems, okay, was in a loony bin, and it caught on fire, and it was locked from the inside. She couldn't get out and died. That's how Zelda Fitzgerald dies, in a fire in an insane asylum. Okay? Jacqueline, another fun fact?
Mine was kind of building up with Jennifer's. In 1930, Zelda was briefly admitted to a mental health clinic in Switzerland, but after the Fitzgeralds returned to the U.S., he dedicated it to Zelda.
He did. Well, everything he did was dedicated to Zelda. He loved Zelda very, very much, as crazy as they were. So we are going to close read the first couple of paragraphs. As you know, you need to read chapter 1 for tomorrow. But in looking at this close reading, apparently Andrew did not know that. It was assigned last week, chapter 1 for tomorrow. What? Okay. So, as we come to the first line of this novel, what's ironic to me is this is one of the better known first lines, yet I've always found it very underwhelming, as though it's not overly significant, maybe, but perhaps at the same time it is. And that first line, in my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. So immediately from our narrator, we know what about the story? We know that he's older and probably, maybe successful, maybe mature. Okay, given the fact that he's now older, perhaps he's mature.
Takes advice seriously.
Why would you say he takes advice seriously?
Maybe because he's still remembering it and turning over the stuff.
Okay, but advice from whom? From his father, which Jacqueline makes you think what?
He's a daddy's boy.
Yeah, maybe he has some daddy issues. Okay? But we know right away that our narrator is telling this story, that in the past, that it's already happened. And then comes this piece of advice. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. Okay, now what literary device is this? We haven't seen it since last semester. What literary device is this quote? One-line piece of advice?
No, really, no.
Starts with an A.
Anecdote.
No.
Not that one. Haven't seen it since last semester. One-line piece of advice. We did a whole writing assignment about it.
Sayings.
It is the sayings. What are those called? It's not in there. What? Not aneurysms. Aphorisms. Okay. We haven't seen one for a while. But it's an aphorism. And what is this aphorism saying? What is the advice?
Don't judge people because they are poorer than you or something. Or they don't have any advantages than you.
Don't judge poor people. Absolutely. Okay? Which tells us what about our narrator?
He's rich.
He's rich. Easy not to judge people when you're rich, right? Okay, or hard not to judge people when you're rich, perhaps, either way. Okay? So the fact that F. Scott starts us with this aphorism tells us that most of our story is going to involve what? Or who?
Poor people.
Poor people? Rich people? Okay, both, maybe. Okay, definitely. So we might be thinking right away that something thematically might involve what?
Money.
And that might tie in, you're right, money. So what else? So thematically we might be thinking about cash money millionaire. And when we talk about money, sometimes we're also talking about, well, rich people, poor people, we tend to be talking about, yeah, sometimes social class might be possible as well. Okay? And then we go on to our third paragraph. Now, I'm going to read this out loud, and we're going to try to dissect it a little bit. Because we go 2 short little paragraphs, then 2 long paragraphs in the first 4. And then after the 5th paragraph and on, it then becomes a normal narrative, what we might consider to be a normal narrative. Okay? He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way. And I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. In consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me, and also made me the victim of not a few veteran bores. The abnormal mind is quick to detect and attach itself to this detect and attach itself to this quality when it appears in a normal person. And so it came about that in college I was unjustly accused of being a politician because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild, unknown men. Most of the confidences were unsought. Frequently I have feigned sleep, preoccupation, or a hostile levity, when I realized by some unmistakable sign that an intimate revelation was quivering on the horizon. For the intimate revelations of young men, or at least the terms in which they express them, are unusually plagiaristic and marred by obvious oppression. Reserving judgments is a matter of infinite hope. I am still a little afraid of missing something if I forget that, as my father snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeat. A sense of the fundamental decencies is parceled out unequally at birth. Woo! Okay? There's a lot going on there. So, what are some of the key words or phrases that we need to take note of so that we can decipher them? Can you? Perhaps as best we can, kind of start from the top and working our way through the paragraph. So kind of starting top-ish, what are some of the key words and phrases and what might they possibly mean? Jacqueline?
Inclined to reserve all judgments.
Okay. I'm inclined to reserve all judgments. So, which means what?
Maybe that he knows it's not his place to look down upon people and stuff.
Okay. So
More like to do with like manners and stuff.
okay. So he tries not to judge. And what's the consequence of his trying not to judge? He's a victim of not a few veteran bores. What's a bore? Someone who is... And a veteran would be someone who is very skilled at being boring. So because he doesn't judge others, who does he get stuck with? Boring people. You ever been too nice on an airplane, train, or bus to not tell the person next to you to shut up? You guys are way too nice. You ever been on an airplane and the person next to you just wants to chat you up about his home in Poughkeepsie?
Yes.
And he's like, oh, let me show you pictures of my kids. I think we have to pay attention to the safety announcement now. I know the exits are in the front of the plane, but I don't know if they're also in the middle and the rear. What do I do in the case of an emergency water landing? I need to pay attention. Okay, so our narrator is stuck listening to these people. Okay, what else stands out, Cyan?
I can't pick out like any few lines it gives us to me, but it appears as though because he doesn't judge, people pick up on this, and so I was privy to the secret griefs of wild, unknown men. Everyone comes to him for advice or to tell them what's wrong with them, because he's not very much of a judger.
Okay, so what does he have access to in other people? Their secrets. He gets their secrets. I like to think of that as the vault. Okay? So sometimes, do you ever talk to your friends and like there's something you don't mind if it gets repeated, but there are other times you go, it's got to go in the vault. No one's allowed to share it. Nobody has a vault? I have a vault. Okay, I just had something added to the vault right before this class that I can't share. It's got to stay in the vault. Okay? It's got to stay there. So, the fact that our narrator knows that, and he has access to the secrets of men. However, does he want the secrets of men? How do we know?
Because he makes Stinkler tries to avoid a situation that would put him in a situation to listen to their secrets.
Absolutely. So he hates it. He hates these secrets. He doesn't want them. He pretends to be asleep. He pretends to... And again, you ever done that, like someone's talking to you, you're like, oh, it's my mom, I gotta take this. Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm coming home right now. You've never done that?
Reasons to leave places.
Yeah, right? Okay. And what's the reason you use to leave a place?
I'm really bad at lying, so usually I just stick with, oh crap, I gotta go run and do something real quick, I'll be back later.
Okay.
And I hide.
Okay. Right, so maybe you've done that before, and our narrator goes on. Our narrator takes us a little bit further. That not only does he fake it to get away from people, why doesn't he want these young men's secrets? What does he say? What's wrong with these young men's secrets? What are they? Jacqueline?
They are usually plagiaristic and marred by obvious suppressions.
Okay, plagiaristic and marred by obvious suppressions. If something is plagiaristic, it is...
Fake.
Yeah, it's fake. It's stolen. Okay, so what does that mean?
Usually lying.
Okay, but what does that mean if all these young men, everything about them is just plagiaristic? They're all the same. They're boring. They're boring. So our narrator's just stuck with all these boring men who tell them his secrets, and they're all the same. Well, that's not very fun. Okay? Now, if we were to say, what's our narrator's tone so far? How's he communicating to us? Allie? Condescending? What else? Anybody? Aloof? What else? That's a good word. Shows condescending. He's condescending. He's aloof. He is kind of snotty. He's aloof. He's haughty. Okay? He's all of those things. Why would F. Scott start us off? I mean, do you like our narrator so far? No. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, you like to judge others. Fair enough answer. Okay? Most folks in the first 3 paragraphs have this reaction of, I don't like this guy. Kind of a jerk. I don't really want to hang out with him. So what is F. Scott telling to us as the author? He's telling us we're about to read a story that
You might not like.
we might not like. And it might be filled with characters that, yeah, are boring and suck. Why would an author do that to us? Aren't we supposed to want to know more about our narrator? Aren't we supposed to like our characters? I mean, don't we like Bella and Edward and Katniss and Harry Potter?
Yes.
Right? So why would F. Scott do that to us? Why Is he creating a story we're not going to like with characters we're going to hate? We don't. It's in the writing so far. It's intriguing? Oh, maybe. Doesn't intrigue me. Makes me want to shut the book. Like, God, Scott, man, like, lighten it up already. And let us go on to the fourth paragraph before we end this exercise. And again, we have this rather long paragraph. Again, I'm going to read it aloud, and then we'll try to identify what's important. And after this paragraph, again, it becomes a normal narrative, far easier to comprehend. These first four paragraphs a little bit more difficult. And after boasting this way of my tolerance, I came to the admission that it has a limit. Conduct may be founded on the hard rock or the wet marshes, but after a certain point, I don't care what it's founded on. When I came back from the East last autumn, I felt that I wanted the world to be in uniform and at a sort of moral attention forever. I wanted no more riotous excursions with privileged glimpses into the human heart. Only Gatsby, the man who gives his name to this book, was exempt from my reaction. Gatsby, who represented everything for which I have an unaffected scorn. If personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures, then there was something gorgeous about him. Some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life, as if he were related to one of those intricate machines that register earthquakes 10,000 miles away. This responsiveness had nothing to do with that flabby impressionability which is dignified under the name of the creative temperament. It was an extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness as I have never found in any other person, and which it is not likely I shall ever find again. No, Gatsby turned out all right in the end. It is what preyed on Gatsby, what foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams, that temporarily closed out my interest in the abortive sorrows and short-winded elations of men. So everything sucks but Gatsby. Okay, so Jacqueline goes, is our narrator gay? An excellent question. Okay, that might be a prediction we kind of put out there for now, because you're right. He seems to have some affection for Gatsby. What if we look at some of the phrases that show affection for Gatsby, what might they include? Calls him gorgeous. Okay, there was something gorgeous about it. That he's an intricate machine that can register earthquakes 10,000 miles away. More or less that Gatsby is sensitive.
Oh, that's a really weird way of saying that.
Isn't it really nice, though? Isn't that a really nice way to say it? That you're not sensitive, you're able to detect earthquakes 10,000 miles away. That's wonderful. I would love to be described that way. Who wouldn't want to be? Gatsby sounds wonderful. Okay? Now, as we come back to the top, why did our narrator get so embittered with everyone else? What has happened to him? So he used to tolerate all this, these people telling him secrets, and now he reaches the point, he wants the world to be in uniform, he wants a moral attention forever, he wants no more glimpses into the human heart. Why? There's a piece of evidence here that's rather important. Jacqueline?
And maybe the fact that he came back from the East, maybe
And
saying that he
what
was like
was-
a war or something.
Yeah, what war was it? World War I. 1920s, it's okay. World War I. Remember, World War I, you have some background knowledge, it's supposed to be the war to end all wars. Yeah, that wasn't. We had another 30 years later that was even worse. But it was all trench warfare, rats eating soldiers, alive and dead. Bad stuff. Bad stuff. So our narrator comes back from the war and wants everything to be in uniform. He wants everything to be the same. Okay? And yet, Who brings him out of this kind of negativity? Gatsby. Okay. What else do we find out about Gatsby? So, Gatsby, who's a sensitive machine. What else? Towards the bottom here, Anna.
Well, when it says, none of the flabby impressionability, which is taken by the from it, maybe he's very direct and to the point. It's not really like, doesn't really dance around it.
Okay, he's direct. He's not one of those people who thinks he's awesome when he's not, because he's the real deal. Okay? Like Shane. We could call him the Great Mosby. Okay? Now, he had this extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic readiness such as I have never found in any other person, and which it's likely I shall never find again. So, what's happened? What?
Lost Gatsby.
He lost Gatsby somehow. How could he lose Gatsby? Maybe Gatsby is dead. Maybe what else? Maybe they're not friends anymore. That would probably be the two leading things. Okay? So something has happened. Our narrator no longer has Gatsby, because Gatsby turned out all right in the end. But based on that last line, how did things end for Gatsby? Awesome?
Well,
What language leads you to awesome, dear sir?
well, he turned out all right, which is better than the alternative, so it's awesome compared to,
Keep reading that line, dear sir.
but all right and preyed upon.
Preyed upon, is that positive? You're a hunter, Hunter. Is it a positive thing to be preyed upon?
It's certainly an exhilarating experience.
Really? You've been hunted?
Things get stuff down.
He was preyed on. Is there any other negative imagery? Foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams. Okay. Temporarily closed out my interest in the abortive sorrows and short undulations of men. So our narrator's time with Gatsby was, but also, cut short, but also what?
Wrong.
Better than good. Fantastic. Dare I say, great. Okay, the Gatsby is great. Everything about Gatsby is magnificent. If Gatsby were here right now, Mr. Couch would hold him, snuggle him, tell him he's beautiful, kiss him a little on the neck. Okay? Now, one last paragraph. I lied. We're going to go one more. Just this little tiny short paragraph. This becomes a standard narrative. The rest of chapter 1, we actually kind of find out about our narrator. Okay? And we get some basics here. My family have been prominent, well-to-do people in this Middle Western city for 3 generations. The Carraways are something of a clan, and we have a tradition that we're descended from the Dukes of Baccalieu. But the actual founder of my line was my grandfather's brother, who came here in 1851, sent a substitute to the Civil War, and started the wholesale hardware business that my father carries on to today. What do we find out about our narrator? We actually get some definitive things here.
Rich.
Okay, they have some money from the hardware business. What else do we find out?
Sort of fancy.
Well, they say they are when they're really not. So what else do we find out? Okay, so their success is built on hardware. What else? Yeah, which is kind of shady. Means you were rich enough to hire someone to fight for you. What else? Where are they from? Okay, and what is the Middle Western city?
St. Louis.
Chicago. Chicago. Okay, and although we don't think of Chicago as Middle Western, it was at one time. Okay, so they're from Chicago on the south side, having a Polish sausage. We find out one other rather important thing. What's our narrator's last name? Carraway. So we find out that our narrator will what? that our narrator will take our cares away. Okay, our narrator will take our cares away. Yeah, that's pretty cheesy.
Well, if you're going from Chicago to the Hamptons, hopefully that would happen.